we've had a really long-term strategy at Arri of really building out our portfolio of LED products. Of course, it started, if you guys have been with Arri for a long time, it started with packs. Didn't last very long, but it moved to the very successful L series, which we've been making for many years now, and people still love the quality of that product. And then, of course, the ultra successful Sky panel, and we've spent the past few years really building out the Sky panel in terms of making that a true family of products, starting with the S60 and then adding the S30 and the S120 and, of course, the S360 as well. And we've been, as I mentioned, this has really been part of a long-term strategy for us about building certain key concepts and aspects of our LED product line. And they kind of rotate around these four pillars to build the true kind of Arri LED ecosystem. It starts with hardware, firmware, communication, and control. So let's take a look at hardware. So with hardware, the fascinating thing is we haven't had a version 2 of Sky panel. Even though it's been so successful, we haven't had to do that because we built in from the start really robust hardware that has allowed us to grow the platform over time without having to come out with new hardware, which is great for everyone because no one has to buy new products or new versions of products, and then the old one becomes obsolete. It causes a lot of problems. So we try to build in really robust hardware, and that includes things like 5-pin XLR, Ethernet, which is really going to be the future of connectivity in our industry, USB-A that allows us to do things like firmware updates through a USB stick or power certain devices, for example, a Skylink, or if you want to charge your phone, whatever, not judging. And we've also have really advanced electronics in there, really advanced processors, drivers, memory, all sorts of things that have allowed us to grow the product over time. So it all starts with really robust hardware. And that hardware has allowed us to do a lot of things. Marcus talked a lot about it in terms of firmware. And we've had 4 major firmware updates over the course of the Sky panel's life, and we've added not just bug fixes or minor things, we've added major new features that allow you to do things with the product that you could not have done before. So things that when you bought it, you do a firmware update and now it could do lighting effects or XY coordinates or all these things here. So the first version of Sky panel didn't have RDM implemented in it. So it was very basic. We had just the ability to kind of control some of the colors. And then we added things like DMX and RDM, of course, ArtNet and SACN, so really future-proofing in terms of communication, how we talk to the fixture. We have 7 different ways of creating colors and lighting effects in the fixture. We have extended color control, which Marcus mentioned, which allows you to pull and push the color around the color gamut very easily and intuitively. And we've also added special modes based on really feedback from you guys and from our users of applications that they want to address that the Sky panel didn't, so we were able to add special modes and things like that. So that firmware, we've been building it, and we, as Marcus said, I think we're about 2 years ahead of the competition. It's a really advanced light with some amazing things, and all of this stuff is built into the fixture, right? So if you want to do something complicated with the color for other manufacturers' light fixtures, you typically need a professional-grade lighting console to do that. We have all of that color, math, and science built into the fixture. So that's firmware. The next part is communication. And as I mentioned, we have all of these different protocols built into the fixture like ArtNet and SACN, but it's also about how we get that information back and forth. And so, of course, in the S360, we have Lumen Radio built into the fixture. So all 1,500 of those S360s that we shipped have Lumen Radio built in, ready to go. And we also came out with Skylink. And Skylink was our answer to address, again, not having to update the Sky panel hardware to address how do we solve that wireless communication with products that are already existing and in the market. We have many thousands of S60s in the market, and we wanted to be able to have those be wireless as well. And Skylink was our answer to that. allowing for us to have wireless DMX and RDM. So if people want to take full advantage of our RDM capabilities, they're able to do that. And also to have Wi-Fi and Ethernet integration into the Skylink base station. So if you wanted to have a truly wireless solution with talking to the base station and then the base station talking to the receivers, you could do that very easily. So this has been kind of a long-term strategy for us. And the last one is control. And we really haven't addressed control before. And that's actually until today. So today we're actually announcing something brand new, and that is a new app. And we call it Stellar. So Stellar is an intelligent light control app made by us. And it's really advanced and really cool, and I can't wait to show it to you. We, at Arri, we typically don't do something just to do it because it would be fun or because it would, to have a Me Too product. We do something because we think we could add something to the conversation. We think we could add something to the equation and give something really unique. So these are a couple of the things that we were thinking that we really needed to have if we were going to create an app. The first is all about design. So to have an intuitive design that makes it really easy to use so that you can have these graphical user interfaces and walk up to it and then just know how to use it. So it's much more than just faders. It's a lot of graphical user interfaces that make it very easy to select color. And we wanted to have, of course, beautiful design built into it. So if we look at something like the Sky Panel and the L series, they've got a really beautiful industrial design. And we wanted to bring a really beautiful design also into the app to kind of match that. The next thing is we really wanted the app to be the gaffer's partner on set. So we wanted to build in intelligence into the app. So Stellar takes care of all DMX addressing and DMX modes. You will never have to set a DMX address with Stellar. The app will do it for you. It'll also automatically discover all fixtures in the network and automatically add them to the app so that you could use them. So it's got automatic discovery of fixtures, and it will take care of all of the DMX settings. And then, of course, in today's work schedules, you have to do things really quickly on set because production time is much shorter, and people have to move through scenes and setups more quickly than they ever had to before. So with Stellar, you can instantly adjust color. So you've got fast color mode switching. You could switch between any of the different color modes that we offer, and you could use it anywhere on set because it's an app and we're using Wi-Fi. You could really move around the set and adjust colors and fixtures very quickly. The app is also customized for the user. So it allows you to do things like create looks and save favorites. And we'll go more into that in a second. And all of this adds up to what we always say is it's giving more time for creativity, more time for the gaffer to make decisions based on creativity and not on time. So we have full control over our fixtures. We can make changes very quickly. And to be honest with you, the app is really, really fun to use. So even though the app is really easy to use, it's kind of nice to look under the hood and to know that there's a lot of really complex stuff going on there. We're using a lot of different protocols in order to control the fixtures, including ArtNet, DMX, and RDM. We have auto layout features and auto discovery. And a lot of that technology is actually buried underneath all of the beautiful graphic design interfaces. So you really don't actually see some of the magic that's going on behind the scenes. But trust me, it's there, and you'll see that. So Stellar is able to control all L-series fixtures and all Sky Panel fixtures. So we made it for our fixtures because we knew that we could control our fixtures in the best way and have the most seamless integration between our control and our fixtures. So I think the best way to go forward is to actually give you guys a demo of this. So the first screen you see here, this is what we call the project screen. So Stellar is organized into projects and scenes. So project is basically any kind of movie or television show or event that you're doing, still photo shoot, whatever it might be. So the first thing that you do when you're in the app is you create a project. So I'm going to create one here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press the blue plus button at the bottom of the screen, and that allows me to create a new project. And one of my favorite movies is Jaws. So I'm going to pretend that we're shooting a scene in Jaws today. I'm going to enter a project title, hit the OK button, and that'll bring me to the scenes screen. So I could have as many projects as I want, and inside of a project, I could have as many scenes as I want. So a project contains scenes, and then all of the scenes contain your fixtures and all of your other settings, your favorites, all that kind of stuff is bundled into a scene. So I'm going to create a scene here. And one of my favorite scenes from Jaws, hopefully some of you guys have seen that movie, is when they're in the boat and they're talking about how they got all those scars. You remember that's a very famous scene. So I'm going to call this scene War Stories. And the location is boat interior. So I could enter in the name of the scene and also the location. I'll hit the OK button. And now what's going to happen, it's going to happen very quickly. The app is searching for any ArtNet nodes on the network, and it found one. It found a sky panel, and it discovered all my fixtures. So that happened live. That's not pre-planned. I didn't record that. What it did was it looked at that S60 right there in the corner. It looked at all the fixtures attached to that network. It found them, and it attached them to my scene. So now I found, what's this, about 10 fixtures here. And I'm going to hit the Done button. And it's going to ask me if I want to turn on auto layout. So auto layout is the function that allows you to have the app address all of the fixtures and make sure that no fixture is ever overlapping in a DMX address. It'll take care of all of that in the background for you. So I'm going to hit the OK button here. And there I am. I'm now able to control the fixtures. So, but before we do that, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to press the Scene Setup button in the bottom left corner here. And that'll go back to my Scene Setup window. And this is where I can make a whole bunch of adjustments to set up the scene so that when I'm actually on location and ready to go, I've got everything set up and I know what's happening. So there's a couple of different things I wanted to point out here. The first is every fixture is laid out in a card format. So each fixture has a little card here, and they've got different elements like a checkbox over here, the 3-dot menu, and a little light bulb here. So the light bulb is for identifying the fixture. So if I click on the light bulb here, it's going to flash blue. That's an RDM identify. So now I know which fixture that is. I could do another one here. So here's the S60 on the left-hand side. And I could go through and I could figure out which fixture is which, because if I just have a list of fixtures, it could get confusing. So if I find a fixture, like for example, let's say I'm back on this one, on the, it's my stage right here. I could go and I could press the 3-dot button here, and I can name it. So I'm going to hit the Edit button, and I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. I'm going to get rid of the sky panel. I'm going to name this S60 Front Right, because it's stage right here. And now it's renamed that. So now I could know what fixture that is very easily. We could do another one as well. So let's see. This is the S120 there. I'm going to press the 3 dots next to the S120, hit the Edit button, and I could type in S120C top light. And now I know that that's my top light. So I never am confused by which light is which. One of the other things I could do is I could group fixtures together. So if you group a few fixtures together, those fixtures will do the exact same thing. So they'll have the same DMX address, they'll be the same DMX mode. So I'm going to find my 2 L7s that are washing the back there. So there's one of them. I'm going to check that to remember it. And here is that? Nope, that's the front one. So here, it must be this one, right? Yep. So I'm going to check box that. And once I have the 2 items checked, I'm going to hit the group button in the top center of the window here. And I could select a color code for this. So maybe I'll select a blue color for the color code. And I'm going to name this Wall Wash. And now it's grouped those 2 fixtures, and those fixtures will now do the same anytime I use them. One of the other things I could do is I could change settings to any of the fixtures I want. So let's say I want to adjust the settings of this sky panel here in the top left. I could press the check mark box and then press the settings button in the top left-hand side of the screen, and that brings up all of the settings of the sky panel. So here I could change any setting that I want. If I want to turn on low end mode, I just click on low end mode and that turns low end mode on. I could turn it off. So I could change all of my settings right from this screen here. And I could change the settings of groups as well if I needed to. So one of the things I wanted to show you too was manual mode. So if you didn't want to use auto layout, so let's say you're in a place where you've already addressed all of your fixtures and you know that you're only going to use a certain color mode, you could turn off auto layout and the app will adopt all of the current settings of the sky panel and the L series. So I'm going to go back to my scenes window here. I'm going to create a new scene just for the moment. I'm going to call this one Boathouse. And it's going to rediscover all of the fixtures because when you do a new scene, it would rediscover. So you could have multiple scenes with different fixtures. So for example, in Jaws, if they're shooting on location or if they're shooting in the studio, you could have different scenes with different fixtures attached to them. So now it's found all my fixtures again. I'm going to press the Done button here. And again, it's going to ask if I want auto layout on. I'm going to turn it off for this demo and press the OK button. And already it's telling me that I have a collision here. And the app will say, I have something overlapping. Do you want to solve that problem? And the reason why I have something overlapping is because I made that group earlier. Right, so that group was set to the same DMX address. So I'm going to ignore this one for right now. But just to also show the power here, let's take a look at, just for example, this S60 here. I don't know if you guys could read that, but it says it's set to DMX address 27. 2 slots below that, we have an S30, and it's set to DMX address 17. So I'm going to purposely change the address of this S30 to overlap with that S60. So I enter 27, I hit OK, and the app will tell you that L7 is going to collide with another item. And do you want to resolve that? And so if I press the Resolve button, it'll automatically change the DMX addresses of those two fixtures so that they're not overlapping. And so that's that intelligence that's built into it. So I'm going to go back to our original scene, and what's going to happen is the app it actually automatically restored all of the settings that I had before, so I don't have to worry about things not being aligned. So this is the main window here. This is where you're going to control all of your fixtures. On the left-hand side, you can see this is where my fixture list is. So here's a list of all my fixtures. We could see the group that I created before, and I could identify them by pressing the light bulb. And we have all the other fixtures listed here. On the right-hand side of the screen is my main window for controlling all of the different color. And at the top, we have a couple of other items. So let's take a look at this. So this is our CCT, and I'm going to select our S60 front light that we named earlier. I'm going to increase the intensity here by sliding up the intensity fader. And then I can scroll my finger along the CCT arc to change the color temperature. Nowhere on screen do you see a DMX value or a DMX address because you don't need to know that. It takes care of all of that for you. So if I wanted to, I have a couple of other buttons here where I could snap to particular color temperatures. For example, if I wanted to snap to 3200, I just press the 3200 Kelvin button at the bottom of the screen here. I could use the minus magenta or minus green and plus green bar at the bottom of the screen to change the green magenta point. Or I could snap back to neutral if I wanted to zero that out. So it makes it really easy to select a color temperature. Some of the other things that I wanted to point out on this screen is below the fixture intensity, there's a little icon here that looks like an eye with a slash through it. If I press that, it blacks out the fixture. And that is independent of the intensity value. So if I had the intensity set at, let's say, around 50, the blackout won't affect your intensity value. You could just turn it on and off real quick just to see what that light is doing. One of the other buttons, so in the top right-hand side of the screen, you'll see this little circle, and that circle represents the color that the light is outputting. It's a representation of the color output of the fixture, so you could very quickly see either here in the color swatch or actually on the left-hand side by the fixture, this will change based on the color output of the fixture. So you can very quickly kind of see which fixture is which color. And then to the right of these color swatches, this little button with 8 circles and ECC. ECC stands for Extended Color Control. So now it's super easy to take advantage of that extended color control feature by just pressing on that button, and now I have these faders where I could say if I want to add a little bit of red to it, or maybe I want to take out a little bit of blue, I can make all of these adjustments very easily. If I hit the X button here on the top right, you'll see that the app will tell you that you have ECC active. So in case you say, well, why does this color look a little funny? It shouldn't be that color. You can see right away that it's got the ECC active. So I'm going to deactivate that. I go into that screen. There's a Reset All button at the top right here, and that will neutralize all the colors. I press the X button, and that brings me out to my main window here. Also, I didn't point out when I had that blackout, it will also always tell you if you have blackout activated. So if you're changing things here and nothing's happening and you're wondering what's happening, it'll tell you, of course, that you have blackout active. So if I turn that back off, the light will come back on. On the top left-hand side of the screen, we have 2 buttons here. One is Master Blackout and one's Master Intensity. So I'm going to turn up 2 fixtures here, the 2 S60s. And if I hit the Master Blackout button, it turns off everything. So any light that's connected to your scene, it's going to turn them all off to 0. So if you're at the end of the day and you're going home and you want to turn off all the lights, you just hit the Master Blackout button and all the lights will turn off. Really easy. I could also adjust the Master Intensity with the Master Intensity button here. So if I press this, this gives me a fader, and I could very easily adjust all of the intensities. And of course, the fixture intensity is relative to the master intensity. So if I have the master intensity set to 50%, that would mean that if you had the fixture at 100%, that would be around 25%, right? So it's all relative to the master intensity. So that's CCT mode. I'm going to turn off this sky panel and go back to this one. So we just have one here, one on. And now I'm going to change the color mode. So we were looking at CCT mode here. One of the most important buttons is this blue button at the top center here, and that allows me to change my color mode. So if I tap on that, it'll bring up a screen that shows all of the different color modes available to me. So of course, these are the 7 modes that we were talking about before. We have color temperature, RGBW, HSI, gel mode, XY coordinates, source matching, and lighting effects. So we're going to go through all those now, but of course the next one is RGBW. So I'm going to tap on that, and this is what the RGBW screen looks like. I'm going to bring up the intensity of this fixture, and there's 2 ways of controlling this. The first one we'll look at now is color field. So this allows me to move my finger around this color field, and the sky panel will adjust the red, green, blue, and white LEDs according to where my finger is on this color field. So if I'm at the bottom of the color field, the colors are very saturated. And if I go towards the top, they become desaturated. And I can just move my finger around and find the color that I like and use it. On the right-hand side of the screen here, you're going to see a button or a toggle switch that says calibrated mode. This allows me to turn calibrated RGBW mode on and off right from this screen. So I don't even have to go into the settings menu. I could turn the calibrated mode off, and you can see the color is much different. And if I turn it on here, it'll change into a calibrated color space. Right below that is a white point button. So if I tap on the white point button, it brings up 2 sliders, and I could change the white point of this calibrated space. So this used to be super difficult to do before, but now with these user interfaces, we could do that really, really quickly and easily. I hit the X button here, and that gets rid of the white point adjustment. So in RGBW mode, we actually have 2 ways of adjusting the red, green, blue, and white LEDs. We have this color field here, which is really intuitive. Or on the bottom of the screen, there's a multi-segmented button that allows me to switch to just sliders. So I could switch to sliders, and now I could control the intensity of the red, green, blue, and white LEDs all individually. So if I knew exactly which percentages I wanted to pick, I can do that just with these sliders. I could also, all of the buttons on the right-hand side are editable. So if I tapped on one, so for example, let's say I wanted to change red to 70%. I could tap on the red, I could delete this number, tap in 70, hit OK, and now we'll jump right to that value. And that goes, for example, also with the CCT value before. If I wanted to enter in a specific CCT value, I could tap on that button, enter in whatever CCT value I want, hit the OK button, and it goes right to that color temperature. The next color mode, if we tap on the blue button at the top of the screen, is HSI. So let's take a look at that. So this is HSI. Bring the intensity up here. And this, again, gives a really intuitive, very easy to use color wheel. So if I move my finger around the color wheel, the app is adjusting the hue and the saturation values all at the same time. And if I knew the value that I wanted to enter, again, I could tap on the buttons on the right-hand side and let's say enter in 240. And we'll change the saturation to 100%. Oops. And that gives us our Arri blue. So really easy to use. Let's tap on that blue button again at the top of the screen. And our next color mode is gel mode. So it's going to change over to gel mode. And now I have this beautiful list of 318 digital gels programmed into every sky panel. And I could scroll through this list. I'm going to bring up the intensity here. And I could select any color that I want. Very quickly, very easily. Now, we have this big list of 318 gels. Part of the thing that you want to do is find the gel that you are looking for. So you've got lots of ways of doing that. The first is there's this horizontal line button at the top of the screen. This is a sort button. So I could sort these gels in any way that I want. For example, brand, or by chromaticity, by category, by gel number, or by gel name. So let's take a look at a couple of these. Let's sort this by brand first. So here are all of the Lee gels. If I scroll further down far enough, we have all of the Roscoe gels. So by the way, I have some color here selected. I can't remember what it is, and I want to see what that gel number was. If I wanted to jump back to that gel, there's this button with the arrow with the dot next to it. If I tap on that, it'll jump right to the gel that I already have selected, so I don't have to scroll through the whole list again. Let's go back to sort, and we'll take a look at sorting these by chromaticity. We could sort them by category. So here's our color corrections. Here's our color filters. We could sort them by gel number. And you see here, as I scroll through this list, it's sorted by gel number, but we also have both Lee and Roscoe gels available to us. So if I wanted to just find Roscoe gels, I could just uncheck the Lee box here. And now I'm only looking at Roscoe gels. And that's all sorted, again, in this particular instance, by gel number. Now I could also sort by gel name. So maybe I don't know the number, but I know the name. I could sort by name and look at it that way. One of the more powerful features, though, is this little button here, this little magnifying glass that allows me to search for gels. So if I wanted to search for a gel, for example, let's just type in something simple like blue. It'll search for all gels that have the word blue in it. So not just the name of the gel, but it actually searches some metadata that's attached to that gel as well. So for example, you see some gels that don't look very blue, but that's probably because they have some blue word in the metadata. So if it's a blue color and maybe it doesn't have the word blue in it, it's still going to find that gel. You could also, for example, type in a number like 80, and we could find our 80 here really quickly. So really easy, powerful search feature that allows you to search on different kinds of words. Also, on the right-hand side of the screen, I'll turn this down a little bit so you can see it a little better. We have the ability to change the base color temperature. So if I have this, right now I'm on base color temperature 3200. I could change that to 5600 just by clicking a button. And I could also see the light with the color and without the color. So if I wanted to see what the gel was actually doing, this is a very common thing in filmmaking. You take the gel on and off the light to see what's happening, what the color really looks like. You could just tap this and you could see what the base color temperature of 3200 looks like. So I don't know if any of you have used the gel DMX protocol on the sky panel before, but it's extremely confusing because of all of these different things that you're able to select. So the app is handling all of that in the background. We're still using DMX and RDM to control the fixture, but all you see is these really intuitive names and numbers and all these things that you're used to, with abstracting all of that technical stuff in the background. So that's gel mode. But one actually important other thing about gel mode is that for the first time, if I go to this L10 and I select color mode, I could select gels on the L series using the app. So I'm going to go with the L10, I'm going to go into gel mode, I'm going to bring up the intensity, and here I could select through different gels with the L series. So again, we're able to do that because of the power of the intelligence of the app. We're able to convert some of these colors into gels so that we could use them now on the L series. So this is a really powerful feature. We're really happy to be able to bring gels, not only gels, but also source matching to the L series for the first time. So let's recap some of the main features in Stellar. So the first one is projects and scenes. I'm able to create as many projects as I want, and inside of a project I could create as many scenes as I want. And that's how we organize all of this different data. So a project contains a scene, and a scene contains fixture information, settings, and a whole bunch of other things. We have automatic discovery, a really revolutionary way of finding fixtures without having to know anything about them. So the app will know what fixture it is, what its capabilities are, and will adjust the app accordingly. We have auto layout. So as you saw during that demo, except for when I turned it into manual mode, I never had to touch a DMX address. I never had to worry about what DMX address it was. So you could literally put these lights up there, connect them all, turn on the app, and don't have to worry about addressing them or spending that prep time in making sure everything is set properly. The app will take care of that for you. We're able to name fixtures and group them together. We could take advantage very quickly of all 7 of the different color modes, as you saw during the demo. And we have these really beautiful graphic interfaces. We've got our CCT mode, our HSI mode, RGBW with our color field and our sliders. We have our gel selection, and for the first time being able to bring gel selection and source matching to the L series. We have our source matching, XY coordinates, and of course lighting effects. We have the ability in the app to select or to adjust a master intensity and to turn on and off a master blackout. We could create as many looks as we want to set different moods and lighting scenarios. And we could save as many favorites as we want. And these favorites can travel with us from project to project and scene to scene. And of course, not only can we create favorite colors, but we could create favorite lighting effects as well. So if we have a lighting effect that we make the perfect firework effect and we want to save that, we could save that in a favorite. And we've got a really cool light plot view feature that allows us to very visually select fixtures. So Stellar is not only available on tablets, but it's also available on phones. So you have these same great user interfaces that you have on the tablet, on the iPad. We also have this on the iPhone. So you could select colors in the same really intuitive ways. All of the same features that you could use on the iPad, you could use on the iPhone, with the exception of the light plot view. You need a little bit more screen real estate to handle those light plot views, so that you can only use the light plot view in the iPad. But you could also use it, or you could use all the other features in the iPhone. So this makes Stellar really the best way to control Arri fixtures. All of the design that we put into it, all of the user interfaces are custom made to work perfectly with our fixtures. So not only is it available for iOS, but it's also available for Android. So it's available for iPads and iPhones, and also for all Android tablets and Android phones. And that will be at the release of the app. So one of the other things that we are releasing is slight firmware updates. So we have firmware 4.1, and that's going to be in beta starting very soon. And we also have the L series firmware 2.5. And I kind of call these compatibility updates or companion updates. So you can use all of your fixtures with the app in 4.0. But if you use them with 4.1, it works a little bit better. And additionally, in 4.1 for SkyPanel, in the past, if you remember, we had a gateway in the SkyPanel, which allowed you to go in with Ethernet, so go in with ArtNet, and it would automatically spit out DMX signal. But it didn't send out RDM signal before. So now in firmware 4.1, the SkyPanel is a full ArtNet node. So it will take in ArtNet, and it will use RDM and DMX to communicate to the other fixtures attached to it. So if you guys are used to buying or renting ArtNet nodes, these are device or specific products, you don't need those anymore. You could use the SkyPanel, and it will act as a full ArtNet node that you could go out with DMX and RDM. So that's a really cool feature that we have built into the SkyPanel. It's basically a product within a product. So to start off with, the app will be in iOS, will be available in these countries. We hit all of the major ones, we think. This is kind of the start, and we're going to try to add more countries as we go forward. We've got 48 countries for iOS, and we've got, for Android, 49 countries. And there are these countries here listed here. And again, we're going to try to add more and more countries as time goes on. So Stellar is not free. Yeah. So what we decided to do is have a subscription service for Stellar. So Stellar is available in two different ways that you could pay for it in subscriptions. We have a yearly subscription for $99.99, and we have a monthly subscription for $9.99. So depending on how much money you want to spend, or maybe you only want to use it for a few months, you could purchase a subscription on a monthly basis and stop your subscription if you want. It will auto-renew automatically. And it also comes with a 10-day free trial so that you could use it. We also have, when you download the app, you could download the app for free. And you could try it out. You could use, there's a demo mode, so you could actually go through and play with fake fixtures, all of the different color modes. But if you wanted to control real fixtures in the real world, you have to purchase a subscription. And it comes with, as I mentioned, a 10-day free trial, and then after that, you'll be charged. It's going to be available today. So you could download this today. After this meeting, I'm going to press a button on my computer, and it's going to release the app so that you guys could download it on not only the Apple App Store, but also the Google Play Store.